Zetsu. You know what's wild about Zetsu? He technically dies twice. And here's the twist. Zetsu isn't even one person. For most of Naruto Shippuden, he exists as two beings sharing the same body, white Zetsu and black Zetsu. Two personalities, two entities, two deaths. And both of them? Pretty damn underwhelming. Let's start with white Zetsu, the original. Some fans might not even realize this, but it was actually Sasuke Uchiha who killed him. It happened after Sasuke awakened his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and left Obito's hideout. White Zetsu tried to escape, but Sasuke burned him alive with his Amaterasu flame sword. Just like that, no build-up, no emotional weight, no epic music. It was over in seconds. Yeah, Sasuke was way stronger at that point, so the outcome made sense. But as viewers, we didn't feel anything. It was like checking a box on a to-do list. And part of the reason is simple. By then, we'd already seen a dozen white Zetsus die. Clones. Copies. The impact was gone. When Sasuke sliced through the original, it just felt like watching a replay of a scene we'd already seen too many times. As for Black Zetsu, technically, he didn't die, he got sealed. But come on, being sealed for eternity might as well count as death. When Naruto and Sasuke used Chibaku Tensei to imprison Kaguya, Black Zetsu tried to escape from her sleeve, only for Naruto to grab that arm and hurl it straight into the gravity core, trapping him forever. No emotional payoff, no dramatic ending, just thrown into space like garbage. And honestly, nobody cared. Most fans hated him for stabbing Madara in the back and resurrecting Kaguya. His death was satisfying in a petty way, like, yeah, you deserved that, but that's it. No tragedy, no gravitas, just another Akatsuki gone, forgotten. Now, speaking of forgettable, let's talk about Kakuzu. His final battle with Naruto was, well, kind of a letdown. The entire Akatsuki suppression arc was amazing, until the ending. Kakuzu, this 90-year-old walking corpse who could use multiple hearts and elemental attacks, faced off against Naruto's new Rasen Shuriken technique. Naruto managed to destroy 2 of Kakuzu's hearts, but it wasn't the finishing blow. Kakashi showed up right after, and ended things instantly with his lightning cutter. Before dying, Kakuzu muttered something like, "How could the younger generation defeat me? I fought the first Hokage himself." And Kakashi replied, "That's just how it goes, the new generation always surpasses the old." It's a line that fans actually love. It hits with poetic irony. But in terms of impact, it's mild, compared to Hidan's explosive, emotional death just a few chapters earlier. Kakuzu's ending felt muted. There was no catharsis, just a clean, efficient execution. Still, there was meaning behind it. Kakuzu, the immortal who'd cheated death for nearly a century, was finally taken down by a 16-year-old kid in an orange jumpsuit. That alone says something powerful about legacy and renewal. Now, let's move to Nagato Uzumaki, Pain himself. His death hits differently. Nagato used Rinne Tensei, a forbidden jutsu that sacrifices all of his life force to resurrect everyone who had died during the attack on Konoha. Some fans didn't like this. They said it cheapened the stakes, like, what's the point of all that destruction if everyone just comes back to life? But honestly, I think it was beautiful. It turned Nagato from a monster into a savior. Naruto didn't kill him, he redeemed him. Naruto's speech about breaking the cycle of hatred and keeping Jiraiya's flame alive reached him in a way no one else could. For the first time since Yahiko's death, Nagato saw hope again. He realized Jiraiya might have been right all along, peace wasn't a lie. It was just something that needed a spark to begin. So he gave his life for that spark. The scene is heartbreaking if you watch it closely. Nagato's body slowly fades, his chakra exhausted, his machine-like frame collapsing as he uses his last breath to undo his sins. Konan catches him as he falls. And when the paper flowers surrounding them dissolve into the wind, it's hauntingly beautiful. Later, Konan takes his and Yahiko's bodies back to their resting place. When someone asks her what happened, she simply says, "He's gone." No grand speech, just quiet acceptance. That's how the leader of the Akatsuki, the man who once called himself a god, left the world. Peacefully. Almost softly. Then comes Obito Uchiha. Man, his death still gives me chills. You can say what you want about Obito's redemption arc, but the way he died, protecting Naruto and Sasuke, was pure poetry. The ghost of Rin literally helps him cross dimensions to reach them during the Kagaya battle. He takes the fatal hit in Naruto's place without hesitation. After years of running from guilt, Obito finally becomes the hero he once dreamed of being. Naruto's reaction sells it. He tells Obito, through tears, "You were the coolest guy ever." And Obito smiles, genuinely, peacefully, before his body turns to ash and disappears. Later, his spirit passes the torch, and his Sharingan, to Kakashi, completing his journey full circle. It's tragic, but also deeply satisfying. Obito spent his life chasing an illusion of happiness, only to find real meaning in self-sacrifice. That's what makes his ending unforgettable. And then there's Konan. Some people didn't like her death. They thought it was unfair that she was killed off so quickly by Obito, especially after everything she'd been through. But if you look deeper, it's poetic. As she dies, her paper wings dissolve into the wind, and one blood-stained paper slips away, floating back to the old hideout where she, Yahiko, and Nagato once lived as children. It lands on a wooden sign they used to flip to signal each other in times of danger. That tiny detail, the paper flipping the sign, symbolizes her reunion with them. Not just in death, but in purpose. It's one of the most beautiful visual metaphors in the entire series. Sure, it's unrealistic, but sometimes, anime earns that right. Conan's death is about closure, returning to the ones she loved, to the ideals she fought for. A soft, melancholic ending that fits perfectly for her character. Next up, Sasori of the Red Sand. His death isn't just sad, it's poetic. Unlike most Akatsuki members who fought to the bitter end, Sasori chose to die. During his battle with Chiyo and Sakura, Chiyo suddenly realizes something strange. Sasori saw her final attack coming but didn't even try to dodge it. Why? Because the two puppets she used, the ones that pierced his heart, were based on Sasori's own parents. The same puppets he created years ago after losing them as a child. See, Sasori never got over that loss. He spent his life turning people into puppets, trying to make something permanent out of something fleeting. He believed true art was eternal, that a lifeless puppet could last forever. Unlike fragile humans who age and die. But deep down, all he ever wanted was to feel the warmth of his parents again. So when Chiyo's puppets, those same replicas of his mother and father, reached out and embraced him in the moment of death, Sasori let it happen. He died in their arms. A man obsessed with eternal art finally found peace in a fleeting, human moment. That's what makes his death so powerful. It's quiet, symbolic, and heartbreakingly human. He's the only Akatsuki member who willingly accepted his end, not out of duty or defeat, but out of longing. It's art in motion, the kind he could never carve from wood. Now let's move on to the most complex of them all. Itachi Uchiha. When Itachi died, every fan was confused. He collapses just as he's about to take Sasuke's eyes, no dramatic speech. No real explanation. Sasuke thinks he's finally won, until Itachi simply stumbles forward, taps Sasuke gently on the forehead, and says something we don't yet understand. Then he smiles, and dies on his feet. At first, it looked anticlimactic, like, that's it? But later, when the truth came out, everything changed. We learned that Itachi had been terminally ill all along, fighting just to stay alive long enough to die by Sasuke's hand. That forehead tap? It wasn't mockery. It was love, the same gesture he'd used when they were kids. Itachi's way of saying, maybe next time, little brother. And once you realize that, his death becomes something entirely different. Not a battle between brothers, but a farewell. A tragic goodbye from a man who carried all the darkness in the world just to keep his brother in the light. Later, when Sasuke learns the truth, about the massacre, the sacrifices, the double life, he remembers that moment. It shatters him. That's when his Mangekyo awakens. Not out of hatred, but grief. And that's the genius of Itachi's story. His death wasn't supposed to make us cheer, it was meant to break us. And when he returns later in the Fourth Great Ninja War and tells Sasuke, "No matter what you do, I will always love you," it's even more powerful. Because now we understand him. Itachi's death isn't about tragedy, it's about peace. He finally rests knowing Sasuke has seen the truth. Hidan. Man, this one's twistedly satisfying. Officially, Hidan dies from starvation after being buried alive by Shikamaru. But think about it, Hidan is immortal. He can't die from injuries. So technically, he's still alive down there. Trapped forever. Screaming. Cursing. And that's poetic justice at its finest. Shikamaru's entire revenge sequence is one of the most cathartic moments in Naruto. He sets the stage, literally, in the same forest where Asuma was killed. He chains Hidan down, lights a cigarette, and says, "When you curse someone, you curse yourself." Then he tosses Asuma's lighter into the pit, and the explosion swallows Hidan whole. Hidan keeps shouting that he'll kill him, even if it's just with his head. But Shikamaru doesn't even flinch. He looks down from above, calm, almost divine, the perfect embodiment of poetic vengeance. That shot of him walking away as Hidan screams echo from below? Chills. And that's the beauty of it. Hidan, who worshipped pain and immortality, ends up in an eternal prison of his own making. No death could be more fitting. Kisame Hoshigaki. Kisame's death is pure warrior code. When captured, he realizes there's no way out, and that his mind might be probed for information. So instead of letting that happen, he summons a school of his own sharks, and lets them devour him alive. Yeah, he feeds himself to his own jutsu. It's brutal, shocking, and honestly kind of badass. Kisame has always been one of those characters who doesn't get enough credit. He wasn't fighting for love or redemption, he fought for loyalty and purpose. To him, dying to protect his secrets was the ultimate expression of strength. Even Might Guy, who could barely remember his name half the time, paused to honor him, saying, "I won't forget this man." And that line hits harder than you'd expect. Because Kisame's death isn't tragic, it's honorable. He dies as he lived, a shark who never stopped swimming forward. No matter the cost. Deidara. If Kisame's death showed loyalty, Deidara's showed passion. His entire life revolved around one idea. Ninjin no Geijutsu wa Bakuhatsu da. True art is an explosion. That wasn't just a catchphrase. It was his creed. He lived for the thrill of artistic destruction, creating fleeting, beautiful moments of chaos. And his death? It was the ultimate masterpiece. In his final battle with Sasuke, Deidara becomes obsessed, desperate to prove that his art is superior to the Sharingan. Itachi humiliated him once, and now Sasuke's calm composure reignites that wound. So Deidara goes nuclear, literally. He transforms himself into a living bomb, detonating a self-destructive technique known as C0. The explosion engulfs everything for miles, the largest detonation in the series up to that point. But even in that spectacular blaze, he fails. Sasuke escapes using a summoning trick. Deidara dies unfulfilled, his art unable to surpass the Uchiha's illusion. And that's the irony. The man who claimed, "Art is fleeting," was destroyed by someone whose power makes illusions eternal. He died doing exactly what he believed in, but it still wasn't enough. A tragedy wrapped in fireworks. Jūzō Biwa. Not everyone remembers him, but he was one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the Mist, and Itachi's original partner before Kisame. In the anime, we see his final battle against the 4th Mizukage, who also happened to be the Three Tails Jinchuriki. Jūzō fought valiantly, even surviving the 8 gates being opened by his opponent. But in the end, a tailed beast bomb shattered his sword and impaled him with its broken edge. He died not as a traitor or a coward, but as a warrior, standing his ground against a monster. A red-stained battlefield, a shattered blade, and one final breath, the perfect send-off for a man of blood and steel. And that wraps up the fall of the Akatsuki. From gods to ghosts, artists to killers, each of them had a death that mirrored their lives. Some poetic, some pitiful, some glorious. But every single one told a story.